So now we're going to take a look at histograms, which are actually a great way to visualize the individual color components of an image. And to do so, we need to import pyplot as PLT from the matplotlib library. Now this should have come bundled with your Anaconda installation. However, if it isn't, you can run a pip install of pyplot and matplotlib separately. So we load our image in as we have done previously so many times, but now we're using this CV2 calc hist function. So I've actually put what that stands for here. So you can see what calc hist actually, the function actually does. So what it does, it generates a histogram of the image we load here. Now image needs to be in an array form, which it already is, but it has to be into the second level array. So that's why we need the square brackets here. Then we actually have the number of channels, so we can use, for color images, you can pass 0, 1, or 2 to get the colors respectively. And then none if you want to use a mask or not. And 256 for the histogram size. So we actually want to see the full size, so we use a full scale of 256. And then we put the range here, and this all needs to be in square brackets as well. So now to visualize the histogram, we use the ravel function, which actually flattens our image array. Now that may be an alien concept to those of you who don't know too much data analysis type stuff. But imagine it essentially takes a two-dimensional array and actually makes it into one dimension. That's sort of what ravel does. So we use the plot hist function. I'm not going to go into matplotlib's functions here too much. But these things correspond to range and bin size as well. And then PLT show, which actually shows our histogram itself. And then this one actually looked at viewing the blue alone. We could have done 1 or 2 to get the red or green separately. But to do that, we actually have to run a loop that we actually put I here in place of the 0 and actually generates all 3 on this image here. So now let's take a look at this. This here is the blue components of our histogram image. What this means here is that we have a lot of components here in maybe the 30 range. That means the bulk of our blues are basically dull blues or dim colored blues. There's also 2 peaks in blues, although that's not that significant. Maybe it could be for other images. So now let's take a look at all 3. So this is all 3 colors here in our image. And this shows the distribution of them here. So we can see this image has the most amount of reds. The reds are at the highest intensity in the image. Also the greens are second highest, and then the blues are the dullest in the image. Now, more importantly here, we actually can see there's very little bright colors in our image. In fact, there's a peak of red here, which may correspond to either some noise, perhaps maybe not noise, but some odd small discrepancies in the image. But the bulk of it is actually pretty dark. Usually you would find for bright daylight scenes a lot of them to be peaking around here. So that's pretty interesting. So let's take a look at another image now. So let's take a look at another image, as I just said. So the image we're going to use is the one I took in Tobago, which is another island, which is the other island of Trinidad and Tobago. It's actually the far more beautiful, pretty island, while Trinidad is the industrial, ugly island. Sorry to say so. So let's take a look at this image. These are the blues in the image here, and closing this off, these are the full colors here. So this is actually quite interesting. You actually see there's actually some dim dark colors here, then there's a slow decrease and quite even distribution, then there's a spike of green and red. Now I actually should have probably shown what the image is. So this is the image that we just loaded up. As you can see, it's quite pretty. Some nice green hills, some reds, some yellows, quite wide, nice evenly distribution of colors here. So, and then once again we can look at the separate color components. That's the blue, and these are all the colors here. So quite cool.